known as $2 Tuesdays at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy, Tuesday now. And that's right, it is a $2 Tuesday as well over at wagertalk.com. We are that much closer to madness. Come Sunday, Selection Sunday, all hell will break loose, but we get to have a whole lot of fun over the next 4 or 5 days here with these conference tournaments, including a bunch of games here tonight on the card. We're going to break down a few. And see if we can find a couple of edges and a few spots that we like the most. And you guys are in luck and in for a treat here today. 3 of the best and the most profitable in college hoops. Today on the show, there he is, Marco. I refuse to lose. D'Angelo in the house, hanging out with us here today, as is Teddy Covers, live and ready to roll with you guys on yet another appearance on the college basketball tip-off show. Love it. And Mr. Vino, Rob Vino, President, CEO of the 1% Club. Always a pleasure to see you, Vino, there. Gentlemen, the fun has begun. Craziness on Selection Sunday, Marco, but a whole lot to happen between now and then. What do you got rolling over at wagertalk.com on this night?
Well, I've got play this afternoon tonight with my 4% best bet in tournament action. It's been a great run, guys, with 62% for the entire year in basketball. That's college and NBA combined. Been bobbing back and forth. Prez for the title, and I wiggled it away again with a winning night last night. So the big dance is when everybody gets excited. March Madness, the tournament, the NCAA tournament, but I'm a big fan of conference tournament week. It's hell week for fun time to be a basketball fan and to make some money, because you got unique handicapping situations that only apply this week in conference tournaments.
Yeah, it really, it truly is here. And it's always a good time, Teddy, taking a look at some of these future markets in some of these tournaments coming up here and using that as a possible hedging situation when the championship games roll around on the weekend. Listen, we know in a lot of these tournaments coming up here over the next 5 days, there will be a bomb or two. It's not going to be all chalk in some of these conferences. What kind of advice, how do you approach this week prior to Selection Sunday?
So make no mistake about it. This week, the next 5 days, 6 days, are the best 6 days for betting college basketball all year. It's not close. It's second to none. And yeah, none of us are going to sleep. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you got games going from 8 in the morning till midnight Pacific time. All right. And then after the games are done, you're going through the box scores. This is a grueling week. And it's not about fun right now. It's about making money. And when it comes to making money, I don't know, there's a better week out there. The big dance is for the casual fan. The little dances this week are for the serious bettors. And there's money to be made. I expect to do it. I expect everyone on this panel is going to do it. We're locked and loaded with one in college hoops and one in the NBA tonight. Still, the number one basketball handicapper, all basketball, NBA and college combined over the last 365 days. It's been that way for the better part of the last 3 months. Been good. Get on board.
Listen, numbers don't lie here, guys. Visit Teddy over at Wager Talk and/or sportsmemo.com. But as long as you're at Wager Talk, head over to Mr. Vino's page. Also, crushing it on the hardwood, NBA as well as college hoops, mixing a little XFL in there, Vino, and continuing to cash tickets. This week is a whole lot of fun. Not a whole lot of sleep, but a whole lot of fun, man. What do you got locked and loaded for us?
Yeah, we're ready to roll here, Joe. In fact, one of the plays is either about to tip off or already has tipped off in afternoon college basketball. There's an additional college hoop play available right now, wagertalk.com, with 2 to follow. So we're going to be busy in college basketball here tonight. May get advanced stuff up this evening as well. The preparation for this doesn't start this morning. It started, last Thursday, printing out brackets and getting data from past tournaments. I mean, it is hectic, as both the guys ahead of me described. But we love it. It's why we do it. And we look forward to cashing some tickets here. NBA as well, I'll throw it in, has been on a good run the last 3 days, 8-3 in the NBA. But college basketball has been a moneymaker all season long for me. So we look to continue that here this evening and throughout the week.
Marco, quick question. Bigger grind, a full MLB season or a full college basketball season?
Full college basketball season, no question, just because of the number of teams you got to deal with on a daily basis. And as we all know, as handicappers, there's nothing more fun, and I'm being very sarcastic, than a Friday night in college basketball season when you're looking at 120 games for Saturday. Not even close, Joe.
Yep. Well, it's interesting because it's the second thing on that list of most fun, and we're kidding, is trying to figure out bullpens in April, May, and June. Also a whole lot of fun there. All right, guys, let's kick it off here. We got one tournament getting ready to come to a close, and that's going to be out in the West Coast Conference here tonight. 9 o'clock Eastern time tip in Vegas. We are looking at, shocker, stop me if you've heard this before, the Zags taking on St. Mary's. Both got by last night. With St. Mary's, I believe, ended up getting the cover or possible push, depending on where you got them at the number with BYU. And then the Zags, they won, did not cover, but ultimately they didn't care because it's all about this game tonight, Marco. 138.5. So we got the grudge match, right? One apiece during the season. What do we get tonight here in this one?
Well, Joe, Vegas has become a sports town. We've got pro hockey, pro football, WNBA, everything else. The toughest ticket in town right now is this game tonight, Gonzaga St. Mary's. Everybody wants to be at the Orleans to see this one tonight between the two best teams in the conference all year long. So it's only fitting that they end up in the championship game yet again. But I got to say, guys, I feel the wrong team's favorite. I think Gonzaga's favorite, just because, they have been the king of the hill for so long. They split during the regular season, each winning on their home floor. The most recent one was at Gonzaga, final game of the season for St. Mary's. Gonzaga was prudent enough to schedule another game after that one against Chicago State to have a little tune-up so they weren't off 10 days like St. Mary's was. Now, St. Mary's last night, they came out rolling in the first half, built up a big 17-point lead, and then they took their foot off the gas and saw it get close late, but then ended up being the push, finishing on 7. I think St. Mary's, this is the team, this is the year for them to get through. As I said, I think they should be favored in this one. And if you look at the last game, it ended up being Gonzaga was a 5.5, 6 in some places, closed as the favorite at home. Now on a neutral floor, they've got them at 2.5. I think that's too much. As I said, I've got St. Mary's actually as a 1-point favorite in this one, power rating wise. I'm taking St. Mary's to get the job done. They play the better defense of the two teams. Now, we know how good Gonzaga is offensively, but St. Mary's does know how to defend them. They beat them on their home floor. I'm taking them tonight. I think St. Mary's wins this one by 3 or more. Give me St. Mary's tonight at the Orleans.
All right, thinking St. Mary's has enough to get it done here. I mean, just for context, the Zags a year ago were a $4 favorite to win this tournament here, Teddy. Not quite as chalky here this year. But hey, you got to win it first. Do they do it? Do they take it down here this year?
I don't trust St. Mary's to win this game. And sure, I get to argue with Marco and take the other side of his game. That's always a fun thing to do. And this is one of them. Marco's got the I respect Marco's power ratings. My power ratings do not show the Gaels as the favorite over the Zags. And again, the first meeting between these two teams this year, St. Mary's shoots well, or the most recent meeting. St. Mary's shoots well, 48% from the floor. They nail 8 3-pointers. They're 16 to 22 from the line. They don't turn the ball over, and they lose and fail to cover. When we look at the series history, and again, this isn't new or unique for these two teams playing in the WCC finals. Let's see. In 2020, they split the regular season meetings. They played in the finals. Gonzaga 84, St. Mary's 66. Zags winning cover. In 2021, it's Gonzaga 78, St. Mary's 55. In 2022, two teams split up 2 regular season meetings like this year, just last year. What happens? Zags win by 13 in the final. And frankly, I'm not convinced that the difference between these two teams, I know Gonzaga hasn't been as good this year as last year's team, but I'm not convinced that that difference has been made up. Zags on this floor have been remarkably good for many, many years. They'll have the crowd support, and I think they'll win by 3 points or more. Gonzaga minus for this better.
All right. There it is. Don't trust St. Mary's. And Vino, I can't think of a better spot for you than right here. Marco on one side, Teddy on the other, and you, my friend, get to tell us, and don't you dare go total here, Vino. I know what you're doing.
He's going total. I can see it in his eyes.
Don't
I can see it in his eyes.
Tell us where you're going, Vino.
Yeah, boy, I hate to destroy your lead-in, Joe, because it would have been must-watch Wager Talk TV for me to try and split the tie between these two, but I won't. I'll step back and watch the Teddy Marco, back and forth there. I do think the total is the right way to go here, Joe. We've seen it bet down just a shade from 39 to 38.5. Take all the numbers that Teddy just rattled off about the second meeting, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, where St. Mary's shot really well in that game. Gonzaga shot even better in that game, and it reached 145 final. The first game at the end of regulation was 61-61, only 122. Tonight, like I said, we're staring at about 138.5. It would require A, the kennel, Gonzaga's home floor, and B, great shooting out of both to get to 145. Right here, we've got a neutral, and I don't know that you get 54 and 49% shooting from each side here in this game. If you do, maybe it gets over, but I would say it likely doesn't. We'll see if St. Mary's can limit possessions. To me, this whole thing comes down to two, and it's why I'm not on the side here, but for St. Mary's, it comes down to two blatant fundamental aspects of the game. Can they handle a press? We saw last night, again, Marco talked about they got off to the big lead and watched it evaporate, and it was because BYU went to a press, and St. Mary's acted like they had never seen one in their lives. And it's not the first time it's happened this year. Now, if you go back and look at the two games that these two teams have played this season, St. Mary's was really good at taking care of the basketball. Gonzaga didn't have a bunch of takeaways in those games, only 8 turnovers by St. Mary's and 11. You can live with those numbers. That's why it took such great shooting to get it up and over the total that we're looking at tonight in the second game, and why the first game was so drastically under at the end of regulation, because we know St. Mary's is going to be like, getting sap out of a tree. They're going to be slow. The other thing they have to do is just, when I watch Gonzaga, they're all about transition offense. If they can't get those cheap buckets off of defensive rebounds and kick and go, and they did it to San Francisco last night from the outset. San Francisco kind of weathered the storm and came back a little bit, but I have to believe that, the Gaels will have some form of transition defense in effect here. Gonzaga, for what it's worth, and I know on this show, we like to rattle off a lot of numbers from shot quality. Let me rattle off some numbers from hoop math. Like that one, Joe? Hoop math.
I like this.
Gonzaga sits inside the top 5 in the nation in 3 offensive transition categories. Transition defined by that website as a shot within 10 seconds off of a steal or turnover or defensive rebound. So it goes to show you what they want to do. St. Mary's is not an elite transition defense. They better be one tonight. I think Randy Bennett will have them ready. I look for a lower scoring game here, somewhere, in the 130 range rather than the 139. So give me under 138.5 Gonzaga St. Mary's.
All right, there you go. A little something from everyone there. A lot of different ways to approach this this final tonight between St. Mary's and the Zags. We've got another championship game coming up here tonight in the Colonial Athletic Conference, where number 4 UNC Wilmington did everyone a favor and knocked off the number 1 seed Hofstra yesterday. And in the meantime, Charleston, in a great game last night, handled their business against Towson. Charleston now a double-digit favorite. This has been creeping up, Marco, since this morning. It was 9. Looks like we've got 10s now. 141 as the total. This one is in D.C., 7 o'clock tip here. And a lot of people had Hofstra penciled in here, but Wilmington said not so fast. If you can take down Hofstra, you can certainly take down Charleston, can't you?
Well, the pressure's all on Charleston. This is a team that, like Hofstra, has been there all year. 30-3 for the season for Charleston. They come into this one tonight, and we know that in these smaller conferences, no matter what you do in the regular season, you better take care of business in the conference tournament, because we've seen conference champions be left out of the big dance on some of these smaller mid-majors. And that, to me, I think puts a little bit more pressure on Charleston tonight. And I think you're paying the price for them tonight. You look at this one, they're minus they were not minus 9.5 on their home floor. Now they're minus 10 tonight on a neutral floor. So to me, you're paying about 2.5, 3 points extra line value here because of the public perception. A lot of people don't think NC Wilmington can get the job done 2 nights in a row as an underdog. I think they can keep this one close. If you look at the meetings, the last meeting, it was a 93-61 blowout by Charleston. Everything went their way in that game. 53% from the field, where Wilmington shot only 39%. Charleston shot 42% from three-point range, connecting on 10 of 24, while Wilmington was just 20% on 4 of 20. If you go back to that game when that lopsided score occurred, NC Wilmington was playing their 3rd game in 7 nights, all 3 in different cities, 1 at home and then back-to-back on the road. Horrible scheduling spot against the best team in the conference. I'm going to go ahead and take NC Wilmington in the inflated number. Do I think Charleston wins it? Yeah, but I don't think they get over the double-digit line here. I'm going to look for this one to be a game around 5-7 point final. Give me the points in NC Wilmington.
Going points with NC Wilmington. Feels like a lot, Teddy, here. We got double digits. And that Hofstra game, I had to go to the wire. That was an overtime spot as well. So both teams didn't walk into this championship by any stretch. So 30-3 on the season is pretty impressive with Charleston. How you looking at this one?
Yeah, if I'm taking Wilmington, I might take them first half. I don't want them full game in this one. And it comes down to everything when it comes to how we look at conference championship games. And for me, the number one factor when it comes to 3rd game in 3 nights, 4th game in 4 nights, 5th game in 5 nights is fatigue. NC Wilmington, well, let's see. Their 4 leading scorers combined to play 3 of them got to 40-plus minutes last night. And they shot well in doing so. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see some tired legs today from the Wilmington side. And that's on both ends of the floor. And you don't want that against Charlotte. Charlotte can light up the scoreboard. They did the last time these 2 teams met, 93-61. And it wasn't a year ago. It was like a month ago. I'm not convinced the rematch is all that much difference. It's favorite or pass for this better. And this way I get to argue with Marco again.
Oh, love it. Favorite or pass here. So, Vino, let me just go to the total because that's where you're going, I'm sure. It hasn't moved. The side is the movement here. 8.5 now up to 10 here. So there's a lot of folks like Charleston Total hovering around that 141. Is it a side? Is it a total? How do you look at this one?
Well, for me, it's going to be total, Joe. But I would say this, that throughout this tournament, Charleston has been, taking the money. They've taken the money every time they've stepped on the floor inside this tournament. So there's certainly groups out there who like the Charleston side. If I were to make a case for them, and Teddy began to make it talking about fatigue, Charleston's the far deeper team. And they're going to go 9 deep, almost 10 deep, and the other side is not. So if you're Pat Kelsey, the head coach of Charleston, and you have the number 26 adjusted tempo team in the nation, and you've got more guys that play more minutes than the other side, you come out and you run. And I would think that Wilmington can try to stop it. But again, it was pointed out ahead of me that the last game these two played was 93-61. Charleston figured it out after the first game. I think there's a lot of numbers here, Joe, that support an overplay. Let me just start with the two meetings between the two. They totaled 140 and 154, hovering right around the 141 that we have tonight with that first result. In that first game, Charleston was horrendous from the field, from three. Somehow they still managed to get to 71, and Wilmington followed them to 69. So they shot poorly in that game. Second game, of course, it went from a 63 possession game to a 76 possession game. Tempo took hold. Charleston ran away. That could happen tonight as well. Either way, you can see that Wilmington's been able to score. And let's point out some Wilmington offensive numbers here. They're 5-1 to the over in their last 6. Their 2 tournament games so far, they played 2 opponents that rank 2 and 4 in defensive efficiency in the Colonial Athletic Association. And Wilmington's been able to get the 70 against both of these teams. So they can probably do the same here tonight against College of Charleston. Charleston, on the other hand, they've won 2 games, Joe, and they haven't put the ball in the basket hardly at all. It's amazing to me that they can score as many points as they do without shooting well. 34%, 38% in 2 games, 25 from 3, 27 from 3, and yet they're still able to score the way they're able to score. If they do any type of shooting here tonight, they're going to find their way to 75 plus. I think that'll be plenty enough. I think they'll probably get to 80, to tell you the truth, in the end here. We've seen these games before that when they get out of hand, the rope is really let go of by the losing side. I could see this thing getting over 141. Kind of surprised it hasn't been pushed up. And one more thing real quick, guys, is that the old, and Teddy, we talked about this on Wager Talk today, but these old adages that third game in 3 nights, you have to play under. I went through these 15 tournaments that are currently being played or have ended already. 15 tournaments, 8 of these conference tournaments have played to the over, better than 50% overs. Only 5 have played to the under, and 2 have played to draws. So the old days of, odds, coming in with heavy money on under and just mechanically playing under, those days seem to be gone. The odds makers have adjusted. We're seeing totals. Last night was a good example of a lot of totals that got up and over.
Yeah, no, they did too. Mix in a little overtime, and you got yourself up and over the total, which is where Vino likes it, with Charleston taking on Wilmington, UNC Wilmington, in that in what should be a pretty entertaining game here tonight. Hopefully, as a double-digit favorite with the number 2 seed Charleston. We do have one other championship game to be decided here tonight, and that's going to be in the Summit League out in Sioux Falls. I know Marco really wanted to be here, but unfortunately, the scheduling would not allow him to take that trip to Sioux Falls this year. But North Dakota State taking on Oral Roberts. 20-0 against the Summit League competition. Oral Roberts last night, though, had their hands full there with St. Thomas as a 13-point favorite. Marco, they didn't look like they were a 13-point favorite in that game. But boy, oh boy, it's either win and you're in, or you're going to take an unbelievable season and you will not be in March Madness. So pressure feels like all on Oral Roberts at 10.5. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, absolutely. It's on them. And this is the prime example of what I said in the other game about you can't screw up if you're the conference champion, because there's only one team getting out of this conference. And I don't think, it's fair not to reward a team for what they've done all year. And as you said, they're 20-0 against Summit League competition. They went 18-0 during the regular season in conference play. And I think that took a little bit of the wear and tear on them trying to get that undefeated conference season during the regular season. And we've seen it in the first couple games here where they're just getting by. But the key point is they got by. Now they're in the championship game. And unlike the other one where I said I thought that they were making you pay a penalty for taking the better team, that's not the case here when you do line comparisons to what the games were before. Oral Roberts is minus 10.5 here on a neutral floor. They were minus 13.5 at home the last time these two teams played. Now, granted, it was only an 8-point difference in that game. They were laying 13.5 and they only won by 8. But I'm looking at them and some of the things that, I look at from that game. They had shot 50% or better in 10 of their last 15 games. However, against North Dakota State, they only shot 37% in that game. I think that was a big key outlier. They had an off-night shooting. Yeah, part of it was the North Dakota State defense. But if you go back to the first meeting, they absolutely blitzed them at North Dakota State. I've seen it so often. Teams that blow out a team on the road in the first meeting come back home as a huge favorite and go through the motions. Phil, they just have to show up and they win the game. And you see a game that looks closer than it should be. And then when they meet for the third time, they get the beat down. And I'm going to go for the beat down. I've got Oral Roberts, and you might hear me throw a couple stats at you when we get to the next segment.
All right. I'm feeling a best bet coming up here. But, Teddy, let's put it to rest here because no doubt there is, I am sure, a couple of people watching that are going, well, if you beat them twice during the season, right, you got to win the third guy. I mean, right, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or they're also of the mindset of that there's no way you can beat a team 3 times in 1 year, Teddy. So what is it when you look at games like this tonight?
So what you want, you have to go through the box scores. You have to look at the circumstance. If a team has a matchup edge against their opponent, they can beat them 3 times in 1 year. They can beat them 10 times in 1 year if they play 10. It's much more of a, hey, let's flip a coin and, someone got hot from 3-point range and then someone got cold from 3-point range in the next game. And it's not so much a matchup problem. Then maybe tap the brakes on a team looking to win 3 games in a row. I wanted to talk about this game specifically because I'm not going to talk about this game. And the reason I wanted to talk about it for our audience is to explain why. I don't handicap the Summit League. I haven't ever handicapped the Summit League. I didn't start this year. So these aren't teams that I'm familiar with. This isn't a conference I know the nuances of. These aren't coaches I know. These aren't players I know. There are many, many games this week in college basketball. I would encourage you out there in viewer land, focus on what you know. Don't try to reach on what you don't know. I don't know the Summit Belt League. I'm not going to reach. There are plenty of other opportunities out there. Best of luck if you bet it. These are the type of games I pass, and I pass without spending time on them because there's a whole lot of other games that I want to spend that time on. So if you don't know a conference, don't try to learn it in the day before the championship game or the day of the championship game. That's my 2 cents on the Summit League final.
Awesome advice there, Teddy. And Vino, I feel like we've been talking about Oral Roberts the last couple of years. Max Asmus just lights out. It's funny, when you watch Oral Roberts, I feel like I'm watching like a group of 30-year-olds playing like the YMCA team, like just coming on the court and being like, all right, let's go, let's play. I mean, these are all dudes in their mid-20s. They're all experienced. Is the pressure cracking here with Oral Roberts tonight, or do you think they handle business?
You would expect that this particular team handles business, Joe. Now, it's, it's not as easy as just saying that because it is a double-digit point spread. But as you point out, you're talking about a team that brings 4 starters back from an NCAA tournament team. Max Asmus obviously has been a star for a couple of years now. And I mean, he's been there, done that inside the NCAA tournament already to Ohio State. So they've got their star player. And then for the 5th guy, they go to Arkansas and pick up 7'4" Connor Vanover in the offseason. I mean, you watch him last night blocking shots, and just Oral Roberts is not a team that you equate with defensive prowess. But you watch him out there standing in front of the rim and you realize that they have that ingredient that they haven't had before. So very, very experienced team against a team that's probably a year ahead of schedule. I mean, the North Dakota State team with Dave Richmond as head coach, they got a young backcourt, freshman point guard. I know that the old saying is after 30 games, there are no freshmen left. But when you get into these tense situations, you can turn into a freshman point guard really quick against a team that plays extreme tempo the way Oral Roberts does. So I don't know. Maybe it can get away from North Dakota State here at some point, but they were pretty consistent in what they were able to do against Oral Roberts this year. Their field goal percentage remained the same. They were pretty good rebounding with Oral Roberts in both of those games. Those are obviously key ingredients in any game, but they're going to have to shoot the ball. And this is a team that really is predicated more on trying to keep the opponent down than they are scoring the basketball. And by down, I mean point production wise. They were 7-1 with a push to the under prior to last night's game, where they just went nuts scoring. That's really not North Dakota State's thing, to run out and score 87 points like they did against South Dakota State last night. I don't see it happening again. I would prefer, Joe, really to shorten this game up. To go back to something that we've really tried to nail down here on this game. Oral Roberts had their hands full from the outset with St. Thomas last night. And generally, I like to play these huge favorites who were huge favorites the day before, got a little bit of a scare early. The coaches always want something to harp on with their team. And what Paul Mills is going to harp on is he's going to say, listen, we didn't come ready to play last night. So let's get out of the chute quick here tonight. The first half price is -6. North Dakota State, obviously in that rivalry game last night, I don't know that they come out as quick. I know that the counter to that would be, hey, if ND State's going to have any energy, then it would be first half. But I think Oral Roberts, after last night's trailing of St. Thomas at halftime, probably comes out and plays a big first half here. So I'm going to try -6 first half with Oral Roberts.
Do not hate it at all there, Rob. Probably a great way to approach it. Summit League Championship coming up here tonight. So we do have, of course, plenty of other games, conference tournaments underway here tonight. And, of course, there might be a game or two these guys like a little bit more than the rest. So, Marco, you alluded to it. There's a stat or two in that pocket of yours. I know it's coming along with a best bet. So which game did you circle for us here on the show?
It's Oral Roberts. And one of the key things to the Oral Roberts play, and Rob talked about it, this is an old school angle. I've used it for years in conference tournaments. I love taking the better team that had the scare because it is an absolute wake-up call. A lot of times these big favorites feel they got to just show up on the court and they're going to find their way in the conference championship game. Well, they get that scare, and all it does is light a fire under everybody. And as Rob said, it gives the coach a reason to be able to push his team and get their attention. Not that you shouldn't already have their attention being the conference tournament, and especially a smaller conference like this, where we know you don't have an insurance policy is an automatic at-large bid. But I think you see the best effort out of Oral Roberts tonight. Now, for the stat, North Dakota State, we talked about it. They scored 89 points last night. They also did it against an arch rival. So they did something they normally don't do. They don't score that many points that often. In fact, over the last 2 seasons, they've only scored 85 or more points 11 times. Guess what? They're just 2-9 against the spread in their next game when they're coming off a high-scoring game. Couple that with the satisfaction of beating your rival and now facing a very focused team. I'm going to go ahead and lay it with Oral Roberts. I'm going full game because I think this one just gets worse as it goes on. Once North Dakota State starts to lose separation, they could just throw the towel in this one. Give me Oral Roberts. I'm laying the points is my best bet.
Certainly rooting for them because I think it'll be great to have Max Asmus there in the tournament as one of these double-digit seeds there, Marco, and watch him go up and drop 30 on them. It's going to be a lot of fun to see happen there. Teddy, a lot going on here tonight, not just the championship games, but some of the bigger conferences also. The ACC, in fact, a game is already underway as we're coming to you guys live now with Georgia Tech and Florida State. Is there a game on the card here maybe that you like a little more than the rest?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go right to the ACC tournament. On Wager Talk today, earlier this morning, I gave out Florida State +2 against Georgia Tech. So far, so good with that one. It's still early. The next game after the Florida State-Georgia Tech game is Louisville Boston College. That is scheduled for a 4:30 Eastern time tip-off. Let's talk about that one. I went contrarian in the first game. You better believe I'm going contrarian in the second game. Let me start with the Boston College piece of the equation. Boston College, based on my numbers, has been favored 8 times this year. How many of those they covered? They didn't get one by a half point. This is not a team that I trust to win by margin away from home. They're not a team I trust to win by margin anywhere, but particularly away from home. Literally, one cover all year in any favorites role, and that came by a hook. You read the quotes out of Louisville, and no question, there was nothing left in their tank down the stretch in the worst regular season of the 109-year history of the Louisville program. You read the quotes talking about this team heading over to Greensboro Coliseum. And it's not just the coach. The coaches, yeah, we're 0-0. All right, Kenny Payne. And Kenny Payne's got the long-term contract. He's fine. I'm interested in what the team leaders are saying. Mike James, they're not up and saying, we're here. Quote, we're trying it. If our mindset isn't that, then I don't know what to say. Louisville's got a reset button. They get to press it right here. I think they come to play. No argument taking Louisville plus the points. And if you want, a little sprinkle on the money line might be worth a wager.
Gotta love it. Boy, I tell you, you can erase a whole lot of bad memories with a couple upset wins in the tournament. Wouldn't seem like such a bad year after all, would it, Louisville? Goodness gracious. So true. What do you think, Vino? We got a couple of different spots here on the card you may be interested in. Is there one you circled for us here on the show?
Well, I think I'll go back to the beginning, what we talked about first, Joe, the CAA championship. And I do like over 141 in this game. Bet it at a better price, got 140, but still at 141, I think there's room. I think what pushed me over the top here is just the fact that Charleston could play this team, NC Wilmington, on their home floor, in their style of game, walking the ball up, crawling every step of the way, and shoot miserably and still get to 140 points. I mean, everything that could go wrong in a College of Charleston game went wrong. You're on the road. You're not playing your tempo. You're not shooting the ball well, and you still find a way to get to 140. Second time around, it went their way. It got way over 140. This one probably lands somewhere in between, but Wilmington has been better offensively against good defenses as of late, so I expect them to do their part as well. I'm going to try over 141 here, Joe. I just think, in these games, we analyze a lot. We talk a lot about the teams. I talk a lot about fundamental matchups, but in the end, we're betting against a number. And I just think this number is pretty good to bet against here. So let's go over 141 in the College of Charleston NC Wilmington championship game.
All right, there you go. That is how you do it. And our friends from the Gold Sheet, well, they've got themselves a play of the day here as well. And, of course, we encourage you guys to head over to goldsheet.com. They have great write-ups across the board that you guys can utilize, along with great handicapping tips. Just visit goldsheet.com, and they're going to look at Merrimack here tonight, taking on Fairleigh Dickinson, and they are pointing out, I think it's 4 right now is that line. They're also pointing out that FDU has already clinched its spot in the NCAA tournament, so Merrimack really has the motivational edge, and Merrimack has played the much tougher schedule this year, playing 7 teams in Ken Palm's top 150. Meanwhile, FDU, they played 1, and Merrimack is riding a 10-game winning streak with each of the last 5 coming by double digits. So when it's all said and done, Merrimack is the way to roll here tonight. I have a ticket on a couple of weeks ago with the Zags to win the Western Conference Championship. I am not screwing around with that. So to me, this is all Gonzaga here tonight, taking on St. Mary's, and I would not sleep on the Zags come tournament time, although it looks like a lot of people have stuck a fork in them. I don't think they're ready to go quietly just yet. It's the Zags for me tonight against St. Mary's. And one more time, guys, here we go, recapping, including Marco D'Angelo going Oral Roberts tonight. Loves those better teams getting a scare, and they certainly did get one last night against St. Thomas. He's laying the 10.5. Teddy covers taking Louisville. What, Louisville? Are they still in Division I? Oh, yes, they are. And they're looking to erase a whole lot of memories here tonight, guys. With 1 win, they can do that, plus 6.5. While Vino, he's going to go with the over here in this championship game with Charleston and Wilmington. I'm going to go with the Zags. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Merrimack is going to be laying 4. Our friends at the Gold Sheet taking on Fairleigh Dickinson University. And, of course, guys, if you head over to wagertalk.com, you heard Marco tell you, you heard Teddy tell you, as well as Rob Vino, best bets, locked, loaded, ready to go, not just college, but NBA plays as well. There is no reason to kick off this week's conference tournament time with a couple of winners and get that bankroll up. Visit them, Marco, Teddy, as well as Rob Vino. Visit their pages over at wagertalk.com. And, of course, you can always get Teddy over at sportsmemo.com as well. All right, the fun has begun. Make sure you guys come back, join us again tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. More tournaments, Big East just around the corner, Pac-12, a lot of great stuff coming. We've got you covered all week long here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Until then, on behalf of Marco, Teddy, and Rob Vino, we appreciate the time, guys. Best of luck with all the plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
How do you like to finish the college basketball season paying under $30 per week? Between now and Selection Sunday on March 12th, there's still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all of the conference tournaments and Wager Talk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special that will include the rest of the college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. That's right, from Monday, February 27th through Monday, April 3rd, there are 5 full weeks of hoops action, which breaks down to under $30 per week. Sign up for this promotion now on your favorite handicapper's homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship in Houston on Monday, April 3rd, plus all non-March Madness tourneys, including the NIT and CBI, all for only $149. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experiences in sports. Some call March Madness the most exciting time in sports betting, so act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited time. Grab your favorite college basketball handicapper, or perhaps add 2 or 3 college hoops experts to make this March Madness not only exciting, but also profitable. No coupon is needed, just head to the homepage of the handicapper of choice and lock the $149 price in now. As the earlier you sign up, the more days you receive.